Solomon mentions in Ecclesiastes, better not to make an agreement at all than say yes and then not do it.
And whenever we don't, whenever we're out of integrity in one of those little things, it just ends up causing lack of trust issues with people in our lives where they're just like, he says he's going to do this, but I don't know if he is.
And the way through that is owning the choices, even if you haven't kept the agreement.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Welcome back to the Crucible Project Podcast. Oh my goodness, so happy to have you listening. We are in the Real Christian Manhood series, and I'm so happy to again be with Byron Myers. Byron, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Love to have these chats that we do.
It's always great, the conversations we get into, and sometimes I don't have a clue about exactly where it's going to go. Reminded of rodeos, right? You strap in and the gate opens and, well, you just hope to hang on for 8 seconds. We'll try to hang on for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, we're here for the ride.
Yeehaw. We thought we'd talk today around a word that a lot of businesses throw out as one of their values, and, you know, is this concept of integrity. Integrity. It seems like it's almost everywhere, like especially in the business world, like everybody has that is one of their values or somewhere in their like mission statement or their vision statement. And yet we see companies blowing up things with regulators. We have recall on different products because something didn't match up in the safety that the company did. Otherwise, it just seems like there's a lot of integrity voice, integrity language, but we really struggle in this world with integrity.
Well, I agree, and I think we misdefine it. We want to take few aspects of integrity and just define it completely like honesty, trust, just some virtues that those are part of integrity, but it's not actually integrity. If you take on integrity like you and I have learned to define it, then those other things fall into place. You will be honest. You'll be trustworthy. So, yeah, I think it's been poorly defined in our country as well.
Last week, there was another big story of a pastor who kind of blew up things with a moral failing. And when I say who kind of, my guess is that the integrity problems started much earlier, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it became known and he was found out and it went public last week, and it just impacts so many people. So, you know, it even happens in the church. I remember like 9th grade, 8th grade on a youth event being taught that integrity means that you just are always obedient to the word of God.
Yeah, or moral.
Yeah,
right?
It's moral.
Yeah, those things are just offshoots of integrity. And if the person's living in integrity, those things actually will fall into place.
One of the big ahas for me was our founder, Greg Houston, teaching on integrity. And, you know, he starts with this idea that integrity means we keep our agreements. We do what we say we're going to do. I remember him saying, Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you say you're going to do something, do it. You know, part of the reason why your wife isn't trusting of you is because you have said that you're going to take out the trash and you didn't, or you said you were going to change the light bulb or whatever it was. You're going to make the payment on time, whatever it is, but then the follow through isn't there, right?
Right. When you were talking about Jesus, yes be yes, no be no, I think about also how he talked with the Pharisees. You know, you say you will take care of things, but yet you live this way. You know, you're trying to keep the law, but yet you're living opposite of it. Right? They were out of integrity. They weren't keeping an agreement that they had made.
A couple of decades ago, it was a group called Promise Keepers who had stadium events. And, you know, the idea of Promise Keepers is you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And one of the ways, men, that you can keep your agreements is to only make agreements that you're going to keep.
Exactly.
Right? and getting clear and clean, making clean agreements, getting clear on what that is. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to change the light bulb by when.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And not making agreements you're not going to keep. The Solomon mentions it in Ecclesiastes, heavily paraphrased, but he says better not to make an agreement at all than say yes and then not do it.
And whenever we're out of integrity in one of those little things, it ends up causing lack of trust issues with people in our lives, our friend, our relative, our spouse, our kids, and our boss at work or the employees we lead, where they're just like, he says he's going to do this, but I don't know if he is.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and the way through that is owning the choices, even if you haven't kept the agreement. I think about pastors. Pastors, and I don't want to over stereotype this, but pastors are often late from one thing to the next.
Mhm.
And some people get really frustrated thinking, oh, they're just so off in their world. But really, honestly, it's a good thing. What they've done is they've stayed a little bit longer with somebody that they're in relationship with or somebody who needs them, and it makes them late to their next thing. And then they stay a little bit longer with them, and it makes them late to home. Now they've done it to their kids. And instead of taking any kind of ownership on it, they just pass it off to those other pieces, and rather than saying, hey, I made a choice to stay with this person, just like I've made a choice to probably stay late with you too. Yeah, owning it.
Choices always have intended and unintended consequences.
Yes, they do.
And so, our choice to be late can have some intended consequences and some unintended consequences. And whether it's like getting home on time or, doing the chore, we also need to be in integrity around the agreements and commitments we make to ourselves and to God.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have daily devotional time, a time with God and a little journal time every day. And whenever that slips a day, usually it's because I've got a really early, like airport run, right? And I'm going to be traveling a bunch that day. Then it can get into habit of not keeping an agreement to myself the next day. I say I'm going to work out today and I don't do it. I say I'm going to make healthy choices at the restaurant or whatever I'm buying at the grocery store and I don't do it. Those little integrity breaches with myself can really add up and make it where the unintended consequence is I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
I don't even trust myself.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, those consequences. There's an example in the Judges, Jephthah. And I think about some of the agreements that I have made and I've watched others make, and they make this promise. If this happens, then I will this. And a hasty agreement. And Jephthah made a hasty agreement. God, if you grant me victory, the first thing that I run into when I get home, I will sacrifice. And when he got home, his virgin daughter came out to greet him. And God holds us to our agreements. And so he lost a daughter out of that deal.
Wow.
How often do I make quick promises as an agreement because I'm trying to say yes to something that I probably shouldn't have said yes to, or I should have renegotiated before we even started?
No is a good word. No is okay. No is healthy in our boundaries. If our daughter says, will you take me to the school event tomorrow? Will you take me to the store tomorrow to buy this thing or that? We need to pause and make sure that we're going to keep the commitment for our sweet little daughter. Or our son, we say, well, I'm going to take you fishing Saturday. And then we get to Saturday and we're not going to be able to keep. We hurt our relationship, we hurt them, and we hurt their ability to trust not only us, but others in their lives, because the power of fatherhood is so big.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think about the other thing he taught us around keeping clear agreements is, make clean agreements, but also if you find that something's happening and you're gonna not be able to keep that agreement, you need to renegotiate that agreement.
Yeah.
Babe, I'm going to be home at 7 tonight. I've got a late meeting. And I find out the meeting's going long. I got a 20-minute commute. So, no, I'm not going to make it by 7. I need to get on the phone or texting or calling, say, babe, 7 o'clock isn't my time. Looks like it's going to be 7:15 or 7:20. That in and of itself helps our trust building with our spouse and our kids and others, but it also is a way for us to stay in integrity. We're not out of integrity because we renegotiated that agreement.
Yeah. And even so, it's still good afterwards when you get home to own the choice of what you set up. I knew these people. I should have known this meeting may go long. I should have said, I don't like the word should, but I knew, so I made a choice to stay with it rather than tell you ahead of time, that could have been 20 minutes longer. And it's
Well,
not a shaming thing, right? It's just keeping trust with your loved one.
I have a practice. I've practiced for a dozen years or so that if I'm late to an appointment and I did not renegotiate it, I want to feel the consequence of that for myself. And so, I get to the meeting and I tell them, yeah, I agreed to this and I chose to do this instead. And brother, what's your address? Or I want to send you a little gift, and I'll spend 10, $15 and send them something. Because that 10 or $15, I feel that, right?
Yeah.
I feel that time that it took to get on Amazon and send it or whatever I'm doing. And this helps me get 2 meetings on time much more regularly. So keeping agreements is a big way to stay in integrity, making clear agreements and then renegotiate them if I'm not going to be able to. And that feels like integrity. It builds trust for me with myself, me with God, me with others in my life, my spouse, my kids, those I lead, my boss, etc., my neighbors, etc. And it is a way to be in integrity. But we also learned a few other things about being in integrity in Crucible. And one is this idea that there being congruence with my thought life and my actions, my belief system, as it were, my thought life, my actions, and my emotional world, that there's like congruence with that
Yeah.
the way that I'm acting and what I believe in my thought life match up.
Yeah. How often have I thought that I would be this way, but then if I step out the door and react differently than the thought of how I would go, yeah, it just doesn't match up well. And I didn't prepare. I just had this general idea. Well, I like the idea of being this way. I think I'll be patient today.
Mm,
Right?
yeah,
So I'm thinking I'm going to be patient, but I didn't prepare for that.
right.
And I'm out of integrity because I'm immediately triggered by something that touches my patience, like traffic.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's always a shock that traffic was the stress point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
exactly.
mean, it's always going to be there. So, yeah, we've had some horrible mass shootings and horrible things happen in the U.S. It seems like every week there's some more, and so much of what they're saying about the perpetrator of the crime goes back to some like trails of their thought life that they're sitting around in rooms where people were talking about this kind of thing or doing some kinds of things. Some of them are even like following people who have done these horrible things and reading about it and watching videos of those things. And what we feed our thought life, even if we say we believe something different, will influence how we're living and the choices that we're making and our actions that, Paul says, take every thought captive. Take everything. It's like watching our thought life and certainly not feeding it with things that are outside of the values that we hold, the beliefs that we have, is important, and bumping that thought. We don't have to think every thought that shows up in our head, right? Research
Yeah.
has said that we can decide not to think along those lines and it can shift. We don't have to think all the thoughts that we have. And once we have the thought, it's kind of like a bird. There's a difference between having a bird fly over our head and them building a nest on our head. And
Yeah.
sometimes a thought can enter our mind and we sit and entertain it and we go down the trail with it. And maybe we even like get more thoughts into us from different things that we're watching, we're listening to, we're reading, we're, being around, we're whatever. And it's inevitably going to impact what we do in our emotional world.
Oh, absolutely. Our computer, the brain, take the old computer term, trash in, trash out.
Right.
Right. A computer only does things at a faster speed, but it is not smart. It is not intuitive. Even in the AI, it's still been fed.
Yeah.
And we have the same thing. Our feeding of what we do. Roy, there are times where I have acted out on things, and then I go back and listen to an old song that I grew up with, and I didn't realize the lyrics said those things
Mm,
that I have actually acted out
mm.
in some way. And it's like, oh my goodness, the power of just listening to something that had a great beat, but didn't realize that those words were actually there. Just amazing.
So we got to watch what we're feeding our brains, and then we got to watch
Absolutely.
our thought life because we don't have to think every thought we have. And then we need to pay attention to our internal emotional world, which most men have like those 18 inches between our head and heart could be, gazillion miles apart because we've just like learned not to feel and learned
Yeah.
to ignore our feelings. And that's where you like end up doing things like with the guy who just pulled in front of you on the highway in the traffic or whatever. That's where we lose it because that stuff just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Crucible's done a great job of teaching me in that area for sure.
Yeah. And if we don't own the emotion, it will own us. And that's not that you stick it somewhere, hold it under the water. It is own it. I am feeling blank right now.
Yeah.
And that is a huge step because otherwise it will own us and we will do stupid stuff out of that.
I remember one time, Bob Locascio, someone that you and I both love, a longtime leader in Crucible, he said something like this. He said, "Do you ever get angry without on purpose?" And I said, "No." And I said, "It almost always is. I got angry, I got triggered. I got angry, not on purpose." I said, well, when you get angry, are you in control of it or is it in control of you? I was
Yeah.
like, man, I never thought of that before. Oh my. Yeah, I'm not in control. When I really get angry and get triggered, I'm not in control. This was a decade or plus ago. And he was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I think the more we stuff it, we think that we're in control of our emotions, whatever the emotion is. But the truth is, it just pops out and then it's in control of us,
Correct.
right? And the sadness of the losses that we've had in our life are showing up in big depression, or our fears are showing up in high anxiety, or our anger is popping out and damaging our relationships, our job, our career, et cetera. So part of it is like staying in touch with our emotional internal climate so that we can own it, like you said, so that that way we're in control of it instead of just
Yeah.
stuffing it. And it doesn't get in control of us. We're not feeling our way through life, but we're in touch with it and we're in control, not it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's that piece where I have stuffed it all and I can be very stoic, but it leaks out somewhere else.
Yeah.
It leaks out somewhere else. Yeah.
You had said something the other day that kind of had me scratching my head, and I was like, yes, that's it. Yes. It was something like being the same person everywhere. Tell me more
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. We often put ourselves into categories. So let's just do so. You got a work life, got a home life, have a church life. And I need to be the same man in all three of those spaces. Now, they may require different actions
Yeah.
because the interaction's different. But I should be authentic and the same in all three spaces. When I'm not, I am in persona. I'm not real.
Mm.
And it creates a havoc. It's a sense of lying,
Yeah.
but it, I'm not intentionally lying about something. I'm just lying about who I am. And it, it creates an anxiety because, oh, I've got to go be this for that world. I've got to go be this for this world. I got to be this for this world. Where am I actually me?
Yeah. And then you get to your 50th birthday party and your wife's invited people from church, from work, and all your family, and you're like, "Oh, what mask am I wearing at this moment?"
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you probably don't even know it, right? You
Yeah.
don't know what that anxiety is. It's not authentic.
Yeah.
But
So it's being, so aligned with my thought life, my emotional world, and my actions in every environment that I am living authentically and in integrity. That's what I'm
yeah,
hearing.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Be who you say you're going to be.
The other part of integrity that Crucible's been so good at teaching me is this idea of wholeness. One of the words of integrity, one of the definitions is wholeness. This idea that all of the different parts are put together and whole. Uh, and I guess I could bounce off of what you just said. These different masks. I think about the concepts that are in internal family systems, which is a theory of uh, psychology that counselors use. This idea that I experienced some things as a child that like what moms do, what dads do, what my mom did, what my dad did, well, what my siblings did, my relationship to them, the meaning that I put on that, and that kind of lives within me as I'm growing up. And whenever I become a dad, I either am thinking I don't want to be like that, or I definitely want to do those kinds of things that my dad did. Same is true with all the other relationships, and sometimes those different parts of us, if I can call it that, end up, can cause us struggles in our inner thinking, uh, and really get at identity of the things of who we are. So we live with things like I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm unworthy. I don't matter. I'm broken. I'm defective. I'm ugly. I'm not smart. I'm dumb. Whatever those kinds of things are, coming from this old like voice from dad or old voice from a coach or anyone else in our life that's just kind of living in us. And there is something about coming to wholeness by taking those parts out and taking a look at them and the messages that weren't true about us all along that we've lived out of, that Crucible is so good at.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we talk about 4 different archetypes that are
Mhm.
part of us, not a personality, but a part of us in that sovereign, lover, warrior, sage parts of us. And you were talking about the way we were raised and what we experience typically drives us to just 1 or 2 of those because that was a safe spot. That was the only way we could function. And then we're frustrated with life because we're trying to function just out of 2 parts of ourselves. And you can even overlay what Jesus said in terms of loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But typically we function out of only 2 of those, maybe strength and mind,
Mm,
or maybe love and strength. And we're not accessing all those pieces so we can be whole. Yeah, driven. So it's important, like you said, to look at where that started, but it's also very important to say, okay, how do I live out of these other parts? Because I've only run to 1 or 2 of them because of the way I experienced life when I was young.
Yeah. I think about if you're a guy who's like listening to this and you're like, oh, that's a bunch of nonsense, I don't think I have those parts in me, etc. Well, you're probably living out of a part that we like to call risk manager. Like you got the protector out there and he's going to take care of things, and and all that stuff is still in you, but you're protective of all of that, and some of it
Yep.
because perhaps it's just too painful to take a look at, right? For
Yeah.
yourself to take a look at. So, yeah, Satan loves to tell us men we're the only ones that struggle with that, went through that, whatever it was. And we got to figure it out all on our own. Crucible really gets at those two things in a big way.
Yeah. And then all of this goes back to integrity,
Yes.
right? It affects our integrity of who we say we are. Are we living as who we say we are?
Men, if you have an area in your life where you find that you're slipping in your integrity or that you've been out of integrity for a long time, I'd encourage you to check out our Crucible initial retreats. They're at thecrucibleproject.org. You can click around there, click the men's retreats and take a look. There's one I guarantee you that you can get to in just, 2 to 4 hours of drive. It's a weekend experience, Friday at 7 to Sunday at 3, whatever time zone it is. And we have them all over the U.S. and across the world. And if you're like, I'm not sure about like an investment of that amount of time and energy, come check out our coaching page, thecrucibleproject.org/coaching, and see if there's someone in there that you feel like might be helpful, and start with a coach. And if you're not committed to that, right, but you want to take a look at something, I'm giving away a free copy. It's an ebook of called Unstuck, 7 Steps to Break Free and Live Courageously. That'll help you get unstuck in whatever area of integrity that you're struggling in. And at least go get that on our website at thecrucibleproject.org. Check that out. We have a Better Man check-in every Thursday. It's on our website. You can see that. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll click the button and pop up. It's noon Central, so whatever time zone you're in, you can figure that out. And there'll be one of our leaders in there who will help you begin the journey of getting at this this integrity issue in your life. But here's what you don't do: don't do life alone, and don't not do anything about it. Right? You gotta start your journey towards integrity.
Absolutely.
Byron, any other final comments?
Find a place where you're circled with men, because men understand men. Women are valuable, but they don't understand a man's heart. Another man does. So yeah, that's also what we offer.
Yeah, so if we can do anything, Byron Myers, Roy Wooten, check us out on thecrucibleproject.org, and hope to see you again soon, Byron, at the Real Christian Manhood series. And thanks for listening today.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. Or if you're ready to get started on your transformational journey right now, you can connect with one of our Crucible certified coaches for a free 30-minute session at thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. That's thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. If you like what you heard, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you're listening, and don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you for listening.